Well, here it comes.
It's that 4FM road, yeah, we ride real slow. Texas bass hitting while the Carolina flow. From the whistles to the winds, every tale they record. Adam and Jack hold it down on 4th and Ward. Southside swing with the coach and Lord. Real life stories, yeah, they back for more. Turn the beat up loud, let the truth restore. You locked in now with the 4th and Ward.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome. We're joined with Kevin Wiggins from Honeygrove High School. Yes, the Honeygrove High School we talked about on last week's episode. Thankfully, I know Coach Wiggins. Met at the DFW coaching clinic about a month ago now. At this point, time flies. But Coach, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself a little bit, go through your story real quick, and then we'll dive in here for a half hour. So I don't want to take too much of your time.
Yeah, you bet, guys. Thanks for having me on. You know, when you talk to me about it, you know, anytime you can talk ball to a couple of coaches, you know, it's gonna be a good time. And you know, the thing that I've always, you know, watching you guys, and we've talked about it off camera, is just the stories of the field house and just the experiences that you get, not only just with other coaches, but with the kids, and just the stories that carry on. And we talked of course, at DFW, and you know, so I grew up in Oklahoma, but my father was from South Carolina, you know, and so he grew up in a little town, Latta, South Carolina, which is kind of Dillon, Marion, Florence area.
Oh yeah.
You know, so every other year, you know, that was our vacation. So he could go back and see family. And, you know, so we'd go to Myrtle Beach and, you know, and hang out in the summer, you know, so that was kind of cool. And I don't know if you can kind of see behind me. I know there's a glare, but like I have his old football picture down in 3-point stance, you know,
Heck
the
yeah.
old school, you know, pictures and stuff. And so, you know, one of the things that my dad would always talk about was, you know, how coaches impacted his life. And, you know, they were poor, man. They worked in tobacco fields and, you know, and he talked about how, you know, coaches would take him, you know, from practice home, or he'd be in the lunchroom, you know, maybe with a, you know, piece of bread to eat or whatever, and how coaches would buy him lunch. And, you know, that made an impact on me, just how he always talked about, you know, coaches. And, you know, so when I was growing up, and, you know, it's not always the same now. Y'all are both in education, but, you know, you don't mess up in school and mess up somebody else's opportunity to get an education,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because not only back then, you know, you get your tail busted, you know,
Yeah.
hallway, or heck, even in front of the kids or whatever, you're going to get it at home too. And there was no explaining, because the teacher was right, you
Yep.
know, and it's one of those deals that it was important to him. He didn't finish high school, you know, and it was one of those, you know, they were always working, trying to, you know, provide for the family and stuff. And so my education was important to him. And that was something that instilled in us at the house was, hey, you go and you respect those teachers, you do the right thing, you don't be a clown. But, you know, he always kind of went back to those coaches, man. He's like, those coaches, you know, are going to pour into you, and they're going to take care of you. So that kind of, you know, that started at an early age. And then, of course, I was a typical boy growing up. You know, if there was a ball involved, I wanted to be a part of it. And then after a while, uh, football was always my first love, and I played basketball up to like my freshman year, and then a 6'2" white guy, you know, just really didn't have a chance. Uh, you know, played football and baseball the rest of the time, and then I played my college ball at Southeastern Oklahoma State there in Durant's Division II school. And you know, had some high school coaches that really made an impact on me as well. That, you know, they weren't your friends, but they cared about you, and, you know, it wasn't always about X's and O's or whatever. They were wanting to ask you questions and, you know, see how your day was. You know, they made a really good impact on me. And, you know, it was about my junior year. He's like, you know, I want to go to college to be a coach. Now, unfortunately about that, when you kind of decide about, you know, what you're going to do for the rest of your life, you know, as a 16, 17-year-old kid, um, I want to be a coach. I go to college to be a coach. Like, I have zero skills. You know, I had to get my son to set up this deal. You know, I told you, you're getting a 50-year-old man on a podcast. And I'm like, bro, he had to hook up his MacBook and download stuff for me. And, you know, so my technology um, this is how old I am. Back in, they always have these tracks, right? And so, um, when I was going into my freshman year, um, keyboarding wasn't mandatory. So I still hunt and peck when I'm typing and everything. I have
Yeah.
no, home keys. What's that?
Yeah, yeah.
And then so you go all the way through there, and then you go. Now, once again, I'm dating myself. I go to the Southeastern or whatever, and that's kind of before computers in society wasn't mandatory as part of your, graduation tract or whatever. Heck, internet was still relatively new in 1994, so my technology skills, not very good. I can hit retweet and like a
Yeah.
talk or whatever, but and I go and and people talk about, and this is going all over the place, but
Nah, you good, dude. Keep it rolling.
so he would talk to me. My dad was a butcher, and so he'd kind of been an apprentice, and he wound up working in these big grocery stores, and then he wound up getting his own butcher shop. And in the country, people would bring you cows, and my dad would, cut up the cows, and people would come all around the area to bring my dad their cow to be processed, or pigs, or in deer season they're bringing deer. So he kind of that was his trade, if you will. Well, me, if I have a leaky faucet or whatever, I got a plumber guy.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I'm having electrical issues or whatever, I got an electric guy, buddies or guys that I've coached their kids or whatever. If my car breaks down or check engine light comes on, I I got a car guy, and so, um, sometimes I laugh and, my wife thinks I'm worthless. It's like, it's a good thing that you can coach because you have 0 skills outside of your work.
I've
But
heard something similar for sure.
yeah,
Um,
well, a couple weeks ago, you talked about, your car freaking
dude, it
kaputted,
was it was the night of I got back that Saturday from the DFW clinic. It's 10 degrees outside
it was
and
so
and
cold.
it's just dead. Oh my gosh. And then I got to get it across the street and I just all world the folks that were running the shop was one of my former students. So thankfully, like you said,
Yeah,
I knew some people. I didn't
yeah.
mean to pull up in their shop, but it all worked
Now
out in
you got
the
a
end.
car
But
guy.
now I got a car guy. It all
Yeah.
kind of works out. Good Lord's got a sense of humor.
What are
But,
they what's
I
the
mentioned
saying? It's who you know, not what you know.
Yeah,
That's
there you
the
go.
yeah, I mean, the
oh,
network's
without a
huge, man.
doubt. Well, yeah, without a doubt, and, even in the coaching business, but if you don't kinda know somebody, it's hard sometimes, and, I've been fortunate. I said this was year 27 for me, so after I got done playing my college ball, my first job was in Deweyville, Texas. So everybody's heard of West Orange Stark in Texas or whatever. This is
Hey,
about
yeah,
10
we've
miles
talked about
north of
them.
10 miles north of Orange, right on the Louisiana border. I'm married and got a 2-year-old, and we moved 8 hours away down to Southeast Texas and in Cajun country, and, you talking about having to grow up fast. You move 8 hours away from any relatives you have with a newborn and, a relatively new wife. Me and my wife, we just celebrated year 29 together.
Hey, congrats,
Wow.
coach.
We got married when I was still playing college ball, and that's not common anymore, and luckily, we were dating while I was playing, and, I know about the college game, 6:30 weights and go to class, and then you go to treatment and film session and then practice, and then you watch film on that practice, and, it's a grind, and so she kinda got accustomed to not having me around, in season. So, when you transition to 7 days a week, and first guy I worked for, it wasn't necessarily the job wasn't necessarily done when you got done. Here was your set hours.
Yeah, you're gonna be here no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. So you work from 7 to 7 on Saturday and 1 to 5 on Sunday, like, bro, you
Yeah,
talking about a
that's
grind,
yeah, that's
but hey, learned a ton of football and got an opportunity to, coach varsity ball right out of college, which, a lot of people have to work their way up, and
mhm.
especially in bigger schools, start at a feeder school and freshman team and all that stuff. And so I've been fortunate. I've been a varsity coach my whole career, and I've had the opportunities to be a defense coordinator for a while. And of course, I've been a head coach and athletic director at a couple of different schools, and now Now I'm at Honey Grove, been at Honey Grove the last 3 years, and it's been a good change of pace for me. You talk about being an AD and head football coach for 19 years. Sometimes that's like dog years,
No
and
kidding. I see my
especially
boss sometimes just getting pulled in a million different directions, and I'm like, man,
well,
because
in
I'm
spring right now, especially in
yeah,
spring, we talked a little bit earlier and, Wednesday night is even like during football season stuff, it's church night. We're living the Bible Belt and in Texas and, church is important. It's important to me, but, you in practice a little early and let them get to youth group. And, Wednesday night is kind of like hey, that's when you have family dinner and that's
yeah,
where everybody's kind of home and you reload because you may be at a junior high volleyball game on Monday, a high school volleyball game on Tuesday, JV and junior high on Thursday, your varsity game on Friday. You're back working on the weekends, getting ready for the next opponent. And, the grind don't stop. But then you get into the spring, and, right now our girls are in the fourth round of the playoffs. They're playing in the regional finals this week. Our boys got beat out last night. Baseball tournament this weekend. The girls playing tomorrow night. Well, now everybody's scrambling, trying to adjust the times of their event so everybody has a chance. When you make the Elite Eight, it's kind of a big deal.
yeah,
And so you want the student section to be rocking. You want every mama not to be split, this way and that way. And so, our boys leave at 9:15 to play in a baseball tournament. Our girls leaving at 6:30 in the morning to go play in a softball tournament. You got a track meet going on and then the game at 7 o'clock tomorrow. And that's just one day, and
man,
then those are going to carry over until Friday and Saturday, with the tournaments and whatnot. And regional powerlifting come, so you still got powerlifting season kind of going into the end, and this is the last week for the boys to qualify for regionals, and I think we got 9 boys that have already, kind of they're set in pretty good shape to qualify for regionals, and we got 3 girls that qualified last week, so you got those regional tournaments coming up, and that's not even mentioning golf and tennis that, I know you guys are at, a little bit bigger school, but when you have 220 kids in the high school, if I've got a dude that we talked, and I know you mentioned we had a dude that just signed with Baylor, and he graduated early and enrolled in January. You don't think you don't want a 4-star that
yeah,
plays basketball? Oh, yeah, you're gonna run track, hey, that's my meal ticket to the state track meet, hey, let's go run the 100, 200, bro. It's just like, eh, you know, if they're athletic in 2A, we want every head coach wants them to be a part of their program, and so you get kids that, right now I know y'all's grinding in off season and our core athletes, they're in season year round
yeah,
because they'll go, we've been fortunate. The last 4 years, we've played 11 playoff games in football. So that's averaging a little over,
yeah,
about 3 a year, going to the third round. And, as soon as you get done with that, they'll go play it. 2 years ago, or not this season, last season, we get beat in the fourth round at the Star on a Thursday night, and they had played a game on Saturday and
my
started
gosh.
district on Tuesday.
Mm.
Sheesh. Well, that was one of the
Yeah.
things that was one of the things I was interested to hear about was how especially this time of year, spring fever in full swing, like people going a million different directions. Like when you got, a school of 220 folks, like and you got multiple sport athletes, like just how do you manage all that? I mean, I guess it's just, you got to be in communication with the coaches from different sports, I would assume is the main thing, and just
Well,
prioritize
and
it maybe.
right, and that may be, and I know it's a little bit different because of course, I've had buddies that have went on to bigger schools, and I'm a small school guy. I like being able to walk in the hall and know all 220 of those kids' names and, and this, that, and other. And so I've always and I've had 3 boys, and I grew up in a small town in Oklahoma, so I wanted them to have the opportunity, and it's not always the case, but a lot of times you go to a bigger school, you have to decide after your 8th grade year, do I want to be a football player?
Yeah.
Do I
Yeah.
want to focus on basketball? Is baseball? And then you kind of go into that year round. And so you got football, and then you're in off season, then you're playing 7-on-7, and and it's just the grind doesn't stop. And one of the things about, I know y'all are football based, but like our wide receivers coach is the head baseball coach.
Mhm.
You know, I'm coaching the DBs while I'm the head track coach. So it's not like we're having to go down to the gym to talk to the basketball coach because he's a junior high football coach,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think, what'd you say? You had 16 football coaches on varsity or whatever?
Yeah, we got 16 on our staff that
So
kinda
we had 12, which is really good for a
Yeah, I was about
2A,
to say, that's a
but
good
that's
ratio.
7 through 12.
I got you.
And so just because, like I said, the last 3 years I hadn't been a head coach in AD, I've kind of taken a step back and let somebody else have all the headaches. And it's nice. My phone doesn't ring when I go home about playing time or this, that, and other. But the titles, everybody's chasing titles or whatever. I've been fortunate. I've had pretty much every title. So,
Mhm.
right now my title is assistant head football coach, coach the DBs, head track. And so you're in that field house and all those guys, we're together. We can discuss what happens next or whatever. And we've got an AD who's been a part of some successful programs and won state championships elsewhere and whatnot that, it's got to take a lot of communication, obviously, but you have to be, some people, they're so stuck in their ways that, well, if we're not just squatting heavy and deep today, at some point in time, that kid that played in the base that pitched on Tuesday is going to go to a track workout on Wednesday and then go run a track meet for you on Thursday,
Man, a
and
renaissance
so
dude.
we've done some alternate stuff where instead of heavy in season, instead of heavy back squat, there's place for that. I promise you. And our linemen, they're going to squat heavy and deep, weekly or whatever. But sometimes our skill guys or whatever, we may just do a front squat, and kind of lighten it up and get it off our back a little bit. We may do more explosive stuff, push press and hang cleans and stuff like that, and just where we're still working on stuff and trying to maintain, but we're not just sitting there, killing them. And it's like, all right, let's go run some hundreds, boys. So it takes a balance, and you have to be flexible, obviously. You know, one of our best, we're very fortunate. We got kids that work really hard. We've got some really good athletes, obviously, with the success we've had. But our dudes, they played last night, and I put them through a track workout today. And then when they got done with track, then they rolled down to the baseball field to start practice.
Heck yeah.
Baseball practice doesn't start till track practice is over. And we're talking about an all-state free safety that came in, and this time doesn't mean anything, but played in a basketball game last night, a nail biter, to a really good team. The first 200 he ran today was 23.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, now tomorrow he'll pitch at some point in time in that tournament tomorrow morning.
Man, that is a grind. I know, Jack, I know we were talking about y'all's off-season weights and stuff going, and y'all got a football period now, kinda.
Yeah,
But you talked about how the after-school stuff, it's kind of a mixed sport deal, right? Is that kinda
yeah,
how
it's all sports after school for us, just because we're kind of in a similar boat as y'all, where we're a smaller school for our state, and so our best athletes are in every sport, and so you're not going to get them in after school weightlifting every single day in the off season because they're playing baseball, track, whatever it may be. So I kind of feel you on that one. Now, some of our kids I wish would work a little harder. Sounds like you got a good group, but there's always a few that like to try to get out of stuff.
I was about to
Yeah,
say, that's a rare cut for a kid to go, play a heartbreaking loss, right, kinda in the basketball season, go out there, hammer a track workout, and then he's gonna go
yeah,
sling the pill on the diamond. I mean, that's a
that's a
different cut
tough
y'all got up
kid.
there. Yeah, that's a tough
Yeah,
kid.
he's a 200, 400 kid. And then, I'm like, all right, he's jelly legged. I'm like, you want to try to get your mark for a triple? And he's like, can we hit that Monday? I said, yeah, go ahead, bud.
You tell me when you're ready. Like I'm just
Yeah.
out here with just measuring it off, lasering it off, and all that. That's one thing I hadn't done track yet. So I've done basketball. I'm doing the powerlifting this year. Obviously, football guy, but I have helped at our track meets and stuff. And I'm sitting there watching some of his workouts. Like these kids are getting it. Like
Yeah.
we do stuff in the morning, afternoon. So I mean, just picturing a kid like that that's going through the ringer. I mean, that's just a testament to, like you said, kind of smaller town. Like that's the culture, right? Where you're going to come in,
Well,
you're
they
going to
don't
get
know
that
any
work
better.
in. Yeah,
Yeah,
there you
I
go.
mean, that's what their dads did. And,
Yeah.
and of course, in Texas is growing. And, I mean, cause when I was I played with a couple of guys from Forney in college or whatever, and that was a 3A school back then.
Mm.
And just as I'd go over there and hang out and mess around in Forney, and they would we'd go make the drag and all this stuff. Now, man, you get lost in there.
Dude, it just we've been here like 6 years. We moved here during COVID and all that. And just in 6 years we've been here, I mean, it's blown up. Like, just traffic's wild, like the school growth is wild. I mean, the houses they're throwing up, insane. But then I'll go back and visit like Jack. He's coaching in our hometown. Sometimes I'm like, man, I kind of miss just that slow pace. I know things aren't going to just on a dime be totally different than what I remember. But
Yeah.
Jack actually, speaking of things changing up, I mean, you talked about Dillon, South Carolina earlier. Dillon's grown a little bit. Last time I drove through there going to the beach in North Carolina, they still got south of the border though, Coach. It is
Yeah.
still raining strong. Jack was in Myrtle Beach this past weekend at a
Well, don't get
coaching
me
clinic.
started, man. That clinic was, I'll save that for off the air. But
All right, I got you.
Was it
Yeah,
not as
no.
quality as we've been talking the DFW clinic up about?
Not even close. All right, I'm just going to say it. They changed venues this year. Okay, so it used to be at this hotel for years and years and years. Adam, you might remember if you went, the Crown Reef or Crown Royal in Myrtle Beach.
It was thumbs
Whatever.
down, Coach.
Yeah, and so they changed venues to 4 Points at Sheraton or something, some other hotel. Dude, let me tell you, it was, I kid you not, the vendors, so like the ones you talk about sounds like this huge vendor hall with like hundreds of people,
Coaching
room
school
to,
for sure.
yeah,
Coaching
so
school, it's in a daggum convention center,
Yeah,
that
it's wild.
Yeah.
Coaching school.
you can walk 3 days of vendors and still not see all of them. It's
So this
crazy.
is like, I walk in and it's normally its own room, conference room in a hotel, pretty big space with vendor tables. Looks good. It's full. We walk in this year and we're in the lobby of the hotel. Okay. There's the clinic in the lobby. And there's just like tables, folding tables just
The actual
scattered
clinic
into
was in the lobby?
the vendor part.
Dude, that's where Gridiron Spice was at DFW.
Well,
That's
and
where I
you
ran
had-
into
you
Coach Wiggins.
We're right in the front. People couldn't help but walk by you.
Oh, I'm
Well-
flagging them down too.
We walked in and there's no sign-in table. There's just like 8 vendor tables spread out to the bar in the back, the lobby. I mean, it's just like, this is weird. And then you go down this narrow hall that's probably about the width of a school hallway. Okay. There's 2 rooms, 2 conference rooms off of it, and they are tiny. Okay. And there's hundreds of coaches here. And then
This
there's
is
no
the
AC.
state convention.
This is the state football coaches clinic, winter clinic. And so, I mean, you can imagine there's a lot of people there. We're in these tiny little rooms. There's not enough chairs. People are having to stand. There's no AC. It's like 300 degrees in there.
Heck
And,
no.
for the most part, I'm painting with broad strokes here, but football coaches ain't small guys. They don't like to be hot.
You get that
Cramped
truck
and
jacket
hot.
and gravy brewing.
A little Fremunda cheese going down there.
Dude, it was brutal. And then, they have water in the room for you for a little while until it ran out, and then they never refilled it. So you're just hot, crammed in there. You're standing. There's no water. It's just miserable, man. I'm telling you, it was the worst one I've been to since
I told Jack
they've done
about the
it, but-
kegs at the DFW clinic, and he was just like,
Yeah,
there's nothing better
like
than
that.
drinking keg beer and talking ball.
yeah, the match made in heaven.
If
Coach,
they
do
had
you
kegs
have-
at this one, the rooms might not have been that big of a deal, but they just have no water. And so it
Lower
was just-
everybody's expectations a little bit.
Yeah,
Coach,
it
you
was
got
rough,
I
a
man.
seen Adam one morning when I was walking to go listen to a clinic, and we didn't get to the room till after 2:00 in the morning, just from the lobby.
yeah. Jack, I'm telling you, Jack, you got to get you a flight in here next year for DFW clinic.
I'll
Fly
do
to
it. Sign
Southwest.
me
We'll
up.
come pick you up, dude.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll do it. Sign me up. I'm there. It's got to be
we'll have
better
a-
than the one I just went to.
Nah, you'll have a blast, dude. There was a guy flying from New Mexico, Coach, that was stopping and talking to us, and he's like, "Yeah, this clinic great. Like, I fly here out of Albuquerque. I come in, like, does the whole deal." And I'm like, "Heck yeah!" Like, I can
Well,
get
and the thing, and I know y'all have talked about it previously. The thing, man, it's high school coaches, and if you can just get one nugget from each coach talking, man, that it's so good, and it's such a wide variety. They had people talking about kick return game, or just one aspect of basically what I Frisco Lone Star talking about their double bubble, where they basically have they run that flare out there, but they got their H back or whatever that's kind of almost lead block, and it puts people. I mean, I got so many little nuggets or whatever, and it wasn't just college coaches talking about. Well, I know you don't have this guy that's 6'8" and runs a 4.3 or whatever. It was guys that that you could relate to,
Yeah.
and I thought it's always good. It's always good.
Yes, we got to get you out here, Jack. Coach, do you have a favorite Myrtle Beach memory? Since we're talking
Well,
about Myrtle Beach.
yeah. So, like I said, every other summer we'd go out there, um, and it's been a long time since I've been. My father passed away back in 2011, so it's been a long time since I've been back out to South Carolina. Did they have like something called the Pavilion, like all the
Yeah.
amusement parks
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then they had like the boardwalk and the saltwater taffy and
Yeah.
all the little vendors and games and that wooden roller coaster and
Yes. Yeah, you're speaking our
yeah.
language now. We always
Yeah.
thought we were
So
going to the big city when we went to Myrtle Beach
Old
growing
Dirty
up.
Myrtle.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
now, I hear people talking about it. I guess it's kind of got sketchy in some places. You got to know where you're at.
You
Yeah.
wanna know where you're at now.
Yeah,
Maybe go a little
emphasis on the
north.
dirty Myrtle now. It's
Dirty.
it's
Yeah, but I can remember going out deep sea fishing, and you're talking about a country kid from Oklahoma or whatever, and we'd get off that boat and I'd be laying in the car and I'm still rocking with the waves or whatever. But yeah, just going out and deep sea fishing with, my cousins and uncles and my dad and stuff. And of course, south of the border, man, you go out there
Dude.
and it's just like
I've got the tab loaded up. I was hoping we would bring it up.
it wouldn't even have to be close to 4th of July. And you could buy fireworks and stuff and you'd shooting
Year round.
Yeah, bottle rockets were outlawed like in Oklahoma.
Nah,
Yeah.
it's a year-round
Yeah.
deal. Good old south of the border right there at the North Carolina-South Carolina border for the folks listening.
And the thing, it's clever. It's clever, but like how they still get away with it.
That's
Coach,
yeah.
I mean, it's
some of
teetering.
the
Yeah.
billboards as you're driving like up and down, you're just like, that must have just be getting grandfathered in. Like
Yeah.
there ain't no way that's getting passed these days. But man, yeah.
Did I ever tell you, Coach Garner? He's one of the coaches that I work with where I am. He's from that area, and Adam, I might have told you this, and so he knows south of the border, obviously, and we've talked about it. He can tell you all the lore about how it's a money laundering operation and they moved the interstate for it and all, this whole like folklore about it. I'll have to get him on here one day just to tell the stories about it, but it is insane.
Jack, do you remember, what was it, 3rd grade South Carolina history, that little blue book that they gave all of us?
Yeah.
Coach, in
yeah.
our textbook for South Carolina history, there's a page for south of the border.
It's legendary. I mean, hey, we have the Alamo, y'all have south of the border. I mean,
Yeah. I was watching a TV show. My fiance and I were watching it. It was, they were Amish, I think. They were breaking Amish, I think is what it was. People leaving the Amish community, whatever. And they stopped at none other than south of the border on this TV show. And I lost my mind just watching the Amish people go through south of the border. Just like
That
their
Amish
minds.
paradise.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's crazy. And like I said, it's been a long time since I've
Yeah.
been back. But
It ain't
just like,
changed.
yeah, south of the border, the pavilion at Myrtle Beach, the boardwalk, the PD River.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had like a family reunion at Little PD State Park or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're talking about like this has been like late 80s, early, not like a long time ago. And it's just like anything, man. Memories is it's cool to kind of go back, and it's cool, our bond is coaching and of course Gridiron Spice and things of that nature, but like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, we get talking, growing up in South Carolina. Oh yeah, I used to go to
Yep.
South Carolina all the
Yeah.
time, and my dad, and so it's kind of cool how everything just kind of just circles around.
The world's a lot smaller than we give it credit for. Speaking of memories, Coach, you've been doing this for a good time. You had a great career. I mean, you've been 29 years. Do I remember right?
Yeah, married 29,
Married
coaching
29,
27.
coaching 27. Sorry, I knew I was going to be close.
You remembered the important one,
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
important
I
one to
mean,
remember.
do you have like some memories that kind of just stand out? Whether it's from your time at Honey Grove or some of those times at some of those other stops you've been. Because that's one of my
Yeah.
favorite things to hear is just is guys and those experiences.
Well, and I can give little bullet points. I mentioned my first job was in Deweyville, Texas, right on the Sabine River. And so moving from Oklahoma, there's like, it's a different culture. I mean, it's Cajun. I mean, there's coon ass all through there, and it's just like, but one thing, you talk about stuff you'll never forget. They served gumbo and boudin balls in the concession stand.
Ooh.
And our booster club was amazing. This is, I tell this story and people's like, there's no way. I'm married. I have a 2-year-old son. I just get done playing, a GA a year. And I'm like, GA and ain't paying for a family, bro.
Yeah.
And so the head coach was a Southeastern guy. And, once again, it's all about who you know. And, he's like, hey, he called our defense coordinator and was like, I'm looking for a young coach to come down, let's coach some ball. It's a high school varsity position, all that stuff. I go down and, by car with a 2-year-old, it's pushing 8 hours, from where we were living. And Jack, Texas is a big state.
Yeah.
So on the interstate in Orange, Texas, when you cross the Louisiana border on I-10, it has mile marker number 880. It's 880 miles to El Paso from Orange, Texas.
Good Lord.
It is closer to El Paso, Texas to Los Angeles than it is to Dallas.
That's insane.
It's stupid, right?
I didn't know that.
I moved my wife and my son to Deweyville, Texas. Nobody knows where Deweyville is. Like, it's 10 minutes north of Orange, right? On Sabine River. There's awesome people. I still have friends. We played a second-round playoff game this year, and one of the ladies from the Booster Club, it was kind of close to him. We played down towards Southeast Texas, and she drove up and surprised me and came and watched the game and watched my youngest son play. But you walk out of the field house and you hear something rattling around in the back of your truck. Them kids had caught like a little 2-foot gator and put it in the back of my truck, and it's just flopping around, rolling and everything. I was like, get this dang thing out of the back of my truck. So we called them river rats because they lived right on the river on houses with stilts, and heck, the Sabine would flood and we'd miss like a week of school and all this stuff. I mean, we're like down on the coast and everything. And they was some of them that they didn't have like a vehicle or whatever, but every one of them had like a 4-wheeler and a flat bottom boat.
That's all you need, Coach.
So they would take us like, hey, Coach, you want to go fishing? Yeah, let's go. We're back in the swamps and they're checking trot lines and they're pulling out fish and everything. We're like, for our athletic banquet, the meal was a fish fry that the
Heck yeah.
dads caught fish off the trot line. And then, so, that's unique stuff. We'd go down and fish off the pier, and, those kids would take me, Coach, all you need is a saltwater stamp. Let's go, and I'm like, man, I'm in hog heaven. I'm from Oklahoma. You're fishing in ponds and maybe Lake Texoma or something, and so we had a blast, and it really helped us kind of grow up as parents or whatever, because you're 8 hours away from any relatives or whatever. You got to figure some stuff out, right? Sometimes if you live, within 30 minutes of grandma and grandpa, it's kind of easy, hey,
Yeah.
we're going to drop off the boys and do this. So we had to grow up, and then, it was amazing, but we had our second child in Orange while we were there, another boy. And so 8 hours from grandparents. Now, hey, let's get a little closer back. So I went to North Houston, in between Conroe and Huntsville, a little 3A school called New Waverly. We coached there for 3 years, and once again had great time. Had some really good athletes, and it was kind of cool, in that area. I don't know if I know you've probably drove through Huntsville, Adam.
I've cut through Huntsville. I've seen the Sam Houston statue off the highway, cutting down through there. The Madisonville Bucky's.
Yes.
Swung through there.
Right. So in Huntsville, in the city limits, there's 7 prisons.
That ratio is tough.
Hey, you go around the square and take a left, and there's the Walls unit where they're, like, executing people, you know?
Jeez.
Yeah. So, like, it's the hub of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, right? In Huntsville.
Boy.
And so I can remember we lived in Huntsville. It was like 12 miles to New Waverly. It was easier to find a house because Sam Houston State, and,
Mhm.
it was easier to find rental properties and stuff there. And so I can remember like these big trials, like where you'd have the big CNN, like satellite trucks and stuff, and people like, getting TV cameras and interviewing stuff, on the square, and the Black Panthers marching, and like, you're talking about some stories and stuff.
Y'all
So,
were front and center. Oh my
oh yeah,
gosh.
it was insane. So my wife wound up, she was working for TDCJ, and her boss was like, it's the governor, the executive director, and then my wife's boss, right? And so I'm coaching in New Waverly. She's working for TDCJ. Her degree's in criminal justice. She's like, hey, boss man wants us to meet him at the Walls unit or whatever. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I said, what's going down? He's like, he's going to take us into some stuff that normal people don't get in there and stuff. So Death Row used to be at the Walls unit, and they've moved it kind of outside of town now, but they'll move them back in like the week of, for their last meal and stuff. But we got to tour like the old Death Row. We went into the execution chamber. Like, dude, you talk about crazy when that
Yeah,
door
that's
like clinks behind you and you're walking down the hall, and it's like dead man walking.
the Green Mile right here.
Like, and so
Golly.
yeah, that was really cool. And the history of that town, Huntsville is a beautiful town, and all the trees and things of that nature. And so after that, we're about 30 minutes in. I'm still telling my life story and my background. But
No, I love it. I love it.
so I took a job in Blue Ridge, Texas. And so my college quarterback, one of my best friends, we played together at Southeastern. We met each other over 30 years ago. I guess it's been 31 years ago. We met on a recruiting visit, and we were roomed up together on that recruiting visit, and so we both signed, and we were friends and roommates. I tell this story jokingly, and his wife is a sweetheart, but we're such good friends. I've been in both his weddings.
You're a true day one.
Exactly. Anyway, we were playing there, and he started dating a cheerleader, of course, quarterbacks, pretty boys, dates a cheerleader there at Southeastern, and she was from Blue Ridge, Texas. And so when you're a college football player, you're looking for a home cooked meal anytime you can get it. And so it was like an hour from Durant where we were playing, and hey, they were like, hey, they want us to come up and meet Sunday dinner or whatever. I'm like, heck yeah, we're going. And anyway, we fell in love with the town. Anyway, there's a job opportunity here, and I wound up applying for it and getting it, and I wound up spending 15 years in Blue Ridge, and like I said, was head coach and AD, and uh, we were fortunate to kind of when we first got here, Jack, I know you kind of know the Metroplex, here and there. So we're in Collin County, so you basically kind of got Dallas, Tarrant, Denton, Colin is kind of the big four. And then I know, Forney is spread out, and Rockwall and all that stuff. But those are kind of the main four of the Metroplex. So we're in the far northeast corner of Collin County, and growth is pushing just like everywhere else. But we had an opportunity to come in kind of, and I have a fingerprint basically on every new facility and new stadium, new baseball field, softball field, and kind of had the opportunity to kind of put my fingerprint on that place. And we talk about, everybody's got to have their, I guess, philosophy as a coach or whatever. And I try to keep mine simple because it isn't necessarily about X's and O's. I want to have great character. I want to teach our kids to have character. Billy Graham, hey, character's what you do when nobody's watching, right? My college coach who is my mentor, and who's had just probably the greatest impact on me as a coach. He's all-time winningest coach at Southeastern, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and I had the opportunity to be his presenter at his Hall of Fame induction and stuff. But he talked about You do one or two things every day, you get better, you get worse. And he said, I don't care if it's that much better. If you get that much better every day, at the end of the week, you're that much better. And hopefully at the end of the season, you're pretty good, right? And so have great character, get better every day, and leave things better than you found it. You know, that has nothing to do with X's and O's or whatever, but it has to do with everything. It has to do with being successful. If I can teach those guys that I'm around every day to have great character, get better every day, and leave things better than you found it, our football teams are probably going to be pretty successful.
Yep.
But more importantly, they're going to be pretty good husbands. They're going to be pretty good fathers. They're going to be pretty good members of society and part of the community and stuff. And so I think that's the bigger thing. And I look back at, my time at Blue Ridge and, just the relationships. I still live in Blue Ridge. I commute. We bought a house here, and just the friends and relationships and the kids, that I coach that now have kids, playing. And so Blue Ridge was on our schedule the last 2 years. And so
Little homecoming.
Yeah, so we beat them both years.
That always makes it easier.
And so, but, it was good. Some of my former players coming down on the field after the game and hugging my neck and telling me that they love me and just the impact I had on, and that's what it's all about. I wouldn't trade anything or any of the journeys I've had. 15 years at one place is a long time.
it's a long
when we
time.
talk about it's like dog years. So at some point in time as a coach, you got to feel like, hey, I need to give my message to somebody else. I need new ears to hear it. And there was an opportunity for the head coach and AD job at Whitewright that's about 15 miles up the road. Before I left, my last year at Blue Ridge, we beat Whitewright like 48-0. It could have been 100-0. And they'd went 2-8, 2-8. I just felt it was time, and I'd talked to, I'd had a staff with me that, I had a coach that was with me for 12 years and my right-hand man and my offense coordinator. And I looked at him and I was like, you think we can win at Whitewright? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right. So the job closed on a Friday. About 5 o'clock on Thursday, I send my resume in, email my resume, and about 8 o'clock Friday morning, phone rings, pick it up. It's like, well, we've been waiting for you to apply for this job. I'm like, oh, yeah? He's like, yeah. He's like, we're setting up interviews for Monday. Send in the resume Thursday. They call me Friday. He's like, we've got a 8:30, a 10 o'clock, a 1 o'clock, and a 2:30. I was like, well, I'm 15 miles down the road. I'll take the 8:30. That way, if somebody's having to travel, gives them a chance to get there and whatnot. So I get there about 8, because if you're on time, you're late.
That's right.
Kind of like Jack on tonight's episode. Had to wait on him.
That's par for the course for me for this. I'm always fiddling with something.
But anyway, I get there about 8, and hey, come on in. We can get started. We're ready or whatever. I left at 11. The other interview was supposed to start at 10:30 or 10 or something like that. I leave like at 11. That guy's having to wait out there, and they bring me out the back door. The last interview was at 2:30, and I get a call like at 3:15. It's like, hey, we want to formally offer you the job. And I was like, well, me and my wife had discussed it. I said, if y'all offered, I'm going to accept. It's like, all right, can you be at the board meeting tonight at 7? So I called Brooke. I said, hey, run by Coles or something and get you a dress. We're getting presented at the school board meeting
Get you
tonight.
something nice.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, okay. I said, hey, yeah, by the way, if you could grab me a gold tie, because our colors were black and gold.
I was about to say, like, how does that work? Like, trying to get the colors coordinated. There's going to be pictures.
Listen, if you can get a solid suit,
yeah,
just rock it with the tie colors.
There you go. I got to write that down.
Yeah. So
Man.
I was very fortunate. It had nothing to do with me. I had some great coaches. I had some great kids, but we left there as the all-time winningest coach in Blue Ridge history. We went, and like I said, Whitewright was 2-8, 2-8. And I got to bring my staff with me. They were ready, and so I brought my offense coordinator, defense coordinator, brought my baseball coach, and I even brought some girls coaches with me that coached on the girls side. And we were there 4 years. Our first year, we went from 2-8, and we went 6-4 and made the playoffs. So it was a pretty good turnaround. We got beat in the first round, 52-47. They had ran the
Shootout.
wing tee, Adam.
God.
Yeah.
That was me and Jack in high school. We were about that
So
wing tee life.
that's not me. I was split back beer
All
in
right.
high school, but when I got to college, we were pretty progressive. We would run some 1 and 2 back gun, and we'd have tight end sets and stuff like that, but it was still a lot of gun spread principles and kind of a lot of checking at the line and things of that nature. And so we based out of the 2 back gun. And so as soon as I get the job, we hit the ground running. Hey, I'm getting us in 7-on-7 leagues, and we're going playing. And I'm like, let's see who can throw and catch. There's balls bouncing off our face. I mean, I'm like, I said, what have y'all guys been doing? It's like, Coach, the only time the ball was supposed to leave our hands is if the quarterback pitched it backwards to us. I'm like, oh my God, what did I get us into? But anyway, we were having a hard time running the ball. The team we're playing was like number 10 in the state, and we're playing over at Sulphur Springs.
Great press box, by the way. Great press box.
Hey, and that stadium,
Yeah,
no
it's
track.
nice. It's nice.
The people's just on your back and everything.
Yeah.
It's a great place to play a game. We're playing there, and like I said, we're battling our tails off, and we threw the ball 46 times in that playoff game.
Dang.
The superintendent came, he's like, Coach, man, I'm proud of you, love, of course, I'm crushed, because we had a chance to win. I really did. I thought we had a chance to win. He was like, our assistant superintendent was keeping track of passing or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, okay. He's like, you threw it 46 times? I'm like, oh, yeah, we couldn't run the ball. I don't know if you noticed that. And he's like, no. He was like, he went back and looked at last year's stats. They threw the ball 11 times in 10 games. We threw it 46 in a playoff game.
I was about to say, y'all might have had like the whole last regime's like passing total like in that one game.
Yeah,
That's culture
it was
shock.
crazy. But so we take over there, and we really think that we're going to turn the edge, and COVID hits. I guess about the time that you kind of move in, and how crazy it was. You're having all this social distancing, and that COVID year was the only year we didn't make the playoffs when we were there. And the nature of the beast. Small school football, you have an injury here and there. And so we made playoffs 3 out of 4 years, and the school board decided they wanted to make a move. And so you talk about humbling and, prided yourself on, that particular school year, we went to the playoffs or at least regionals in every sport we offered. So volleyball goes to the regional tournament, football goes to the playoffs, track goes to the state, cross country goes to the state cross country meet. Basketball went 3 rounds deep. Girls basketball made the playoffs. Baseball and softball go. We take kids to the state track meet or whatever, but I didn't win a playoff game. Boy, you're talking about.
Yeah, that seems
man.
a little. That would be. I'd be shabby. I can't even
But
imagine.
listen, that story is not uncommon.
Yeah.
It's just, and everything happens for a reason. Everything's meant to be, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And so one of my college buddies was the head coach at Honey Grove. He said, hey, I know you're going to get another head job or whatever. So I just want you to know that you can come be my assistant head coach and coach track, and we're going to be pretty dang good. And I talked to Brooke, my wife, and I was like, you know what? That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, the rest is history. And I told you it's the sweetest little town in Texas.
Yeah, it is.
The amount of support at that community. And, I've told you to follow our Tomahawk Sports Media deal or whatever. Like, we don't make graphics. That guy takes care of everything. Broadcasts our games live. If Honey Grove Kid is playing, and that article that came out in the newspaper, he's posting it, and he does a great job of selling us and selling the story of our kids. There's college programs that doesn't have a sports network like that.
Facts.
And just it's been a great change of pace for me. It's something that I needed, and man, it's been an awesome run so far.
Yeah, it's I mean, I was able to just keep up with you guys here and there because I you hear the name Honeygrove and it's just an interesting name, and so it just
Yeah.
sticks with you. And we ain't got to get into it, but we had a player transfer there, and so anyway, so it was just on my radar, and I see that you guys are having a killer year. I'm like, dang, that guy made a heck of a switch up. Like he goes from we were fighting to get in the playoffs, and he transfers to a school that's got y'all went
It was a better
4.
trade for him than it was for us.
Man, but, I mean, it seems like an awesome place to live, and honestly, like, me and Jack growing up in a small town, like, I can't tell you how many times I've had the thought that, like, I mentioned it earlier, like, just getting back to that just smaller roots, and it doesn't a lot of people fall for all the glitz and the glamour and all this and that, but, like, there's something special about just being in a place like you're describing that you got community support and, you got great kids that work their tails off. And like you said, it all worked out, right? Now you're able to enjoy your evenings a little more. Your son's killing it in the culinary class. So I was hoping we can get into that a little bit before we have to shut it down. Coach, you want to tell the folks about your sons? Jay, you got to listen to this, all right?
Yeah,
Some of
so I told you I don't have any trades, right? I don't
Yeah.
have any skills or whatever. My dad was a butcher. And so, like, food was important. Like, when you sit down for a family meal or whatever, when dad's home and hey, you sit down, and that's what my oldest son, Brevin, he's like, man, this is the first time we sat at the table together in a while, huh? But that was important. But like my dad being a butcher, it wasn't a meal unless it involved meat. There was no eating a bowl of cereal or a Pop Tart or whatever. It was sausage, bacon, ham, like there's meat involved, right? But with that, like, we're foodies, man. Like, we go travel somewhere, we're looking, hey, I wonder if diners, drive-ins, and dives have ever been here or whatever, And so,
was our show
anyway,
growing
food's
up.
important in our house, and you don't get 250 by, not eating food. So I've dabbled in these food competitions, So the Booster Club had like a barbecue cook-off, and you basically smoke a pulled pork or whatever. The judges sample it or whatever, but the entry fee is you donate the pulled pork, and they're going to sell pulled pork sandwiches for a fundraiser, right?
Hmm.
And so I've won a couple of those and got some trophies. And then like our Beta Club last year had a chili cook-off during basketball season. And so me and Brax went and set a table up or whatever, and we won, And so, like, if we're gonna cook, we're gonna do it right.
That's
So he
right.
goes to the Spannon County Fair and enters this cooking competition because he's not a welder, he's not an electrician, he's not an ag guy, he's not a fine arts guy. I was like, heck, go in there with the girls and cook something. You get to snack. So he's been in culinary for 3 years, and he goes to the Fannin County Fair and wins the cooking competition. And so he's the lead chef. So when you win that, they enter you in, they pay for your entry into this thing called Steaks on Main. It's a big steak cook-off. And so anyway, we've been crafting our deal, and I've sent you pictures and
Hmm.
videos or whatever. The dude can cook a steak, and
He can.
today's 15th birthday, and he's ready. It's coming up in April, and we've been practicing, and of course we've been using the gridiron spice, and we
Heck
got
yeah.
that rock and rolling with the culinary class, and that thing is, I mean, just you've seen it in the paper, and the order forms coming in, and I think the number when she gives it to you on Friday is going to surprise you.
Oh gosh. Well, I hope we do it justice because I mean, you guys, it's a special place. It's the sweetest place in Texas, right? Sweetest town in Texas.
Sweetest town in
We
Texas.
want to make sure we do it right for you guys. But coach, we're gonna have you back on for another one, man. We
Yeah,
already
for
hit our
sure.
time. I mean, before we roll out though, is there, if folks that are listening want to connect with you, is there certain avenues that they should reach out to you on?
Well, you know, my technology, I have social medias, but I'm at KD Wiggs on most things, and it's just KDIWIGS, and shoot me a tweet, TikTok, Instagram. I'm on most of them, Facebook, but yeah, I mean, I just enjoyed visiting with you guys, and I know I kind of hijacked your podcast, just rambling on, but
Nah, coach.
That's what it's
Yeah, that's what we want. We just want to hear. We're suckers for just sitting there listening to stories and all that. Like I said, we're gonna do a whole anthology. Like, 'cause there's some things I'd like to go back through the Huntsville deal and all that. We'll have to
yeah,
revisit that sometime. Cause
hey, there's some backstories on that, bro.
once we hit stop record right here, we'll be sure to get after it. Coach Wiggins, I appreciate your time, man. Guys, thanks for listening. As always, drop those comments for your Team of the Week nominees for our weekly episodes, and we'll see you next time. Jack, you want to sign us off?
Stay golden.
You locked in now with the fourth and wall. Fourth and wall. Adam, Jay, Texas, Carolina, we out.